Good evening, everybody. Alan Slaughterzinski for the Brevard Sports Network, and week one of what officially is the off season, so to speak, if you will. School ended on Friday. Of course, graduations, I believe, are now complete, and we are into the off season. Make sure you stay tuned to Brevard Sports Network. Earlier today, we put up number 20 and number 19 of our school plays of the year on our Facebook page, and we'd be interested. We're going to want your help with that. Obviously, it doesn't have to be 20. There's nothing written law that says it has to be 20. So if you remember a broadcast that Brevard Sports Network did with a play of the year type of a play in it, make sure you send me a message because we don't want to miss any of the great ones. We also are continuing here tonight with our recap of spring football. And I'm very, very anxious to get our next head coach on. Big news for his program over the weekend. And listen, honestly, when you look at this program and what they accomplished last year and the steps they are taking this year, it is one of the more exciting and I don't want to say up and coming because Heritage is a winning program. It has been for years now. But I think there are a lot of eyes on this program, especially since last year and with the talent they have and the talent they're going to have. Please help me welcome here tonight via video link head coach of the Heritage Panthers, Mykel Benson. Coach, always great to speak with you. I'd say how's your summer, but it's just day one.
It's just day one. I'm actually relaxing now. Like we got this week off, and then we go right back into it next week. So
What does Mykel Benson do to relax during the summer?
I go fishing. That's
Do
what I
you
do.
what do you like to fish? What do you like to fish for?
Some sheep's heads, some snappers, anything that's coming under that dock.
I got you. I got you. Now, do you ever go? He said anything that's coming under that?
Besides catfish, I don't know the catfish.
No, I hear you on the catfish part. All right, Coach. As I've texted all of you guys, it was thank God. I mean, good for baseball and softball. They ran all the way to near graduation, so we didn't get an opportunity to get out and around the practices like we wanted to or like we usually do during the spring. So, if I asked you this question, if you could recap your spring practices in one paragraph for me, what would you say about your spring practices?
Actually, our spring practice this year was it was a little different for us this year because we wasn't preparing for a game and we wanted to try it. I know a lot of schools are going to that now, but honestly, I love not preparing for a game in the spring because actually you get to evaluate these kids, you get to see what you have and don't have, see what kids can do it and don't do it. Like a lot of kids that are coming up from JV, there's no JV varsity; it's all varsity. So a lot of these kids think they can play varsity, but it's a great time for us as coaches to kind of sit back and really, really take our time and be very simple with what we want to install, so we can see these guys, excel over the. We only did 15 days of practice this year, so in a nutshell, it was great. I thought we came from day one to day 15. It was a big, big jump in talent and just understanding what they need to do and how we play and how we want them to play. I thought it was a very, very good spring in that aspect.
Coach, let me ask you this. You mentioned this, and I've talked to a couple of coaches, and they agree with you. Not having the spring game really they really felt like it helped their program more because of the exact reason that you just said. You don't have to worry about going out, especially jamborees, because then you got to prep for two teams, sort of.
Exactly.
And so, do you see this as the wave of the future where spring games go away?
I absolutely. I know for my program, I don't see myself playing in another spring game ever again. Just for the simple fact of, it kind of eliminates the injuries and stuff. So that was a big thing for us. We don't have to go hard all the time, but you can control what you can install. You can control whatever you want to do. Um, I know for my program, I know we're not going to do it again. And I reached out to Coco and I asked him why, why they don't play it, because Coco was probably the one that started this whole thing, not playing spring, and
Yeah.
he basically just told me, he was like, you can't win a state championship in spring, so why? So, and it made perfect sense to me, because you can't, because you can lose a state championship in the spring as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a great point because if a guy tears an ACL in the spring in a spring game, now I know they can do it in practice, and that'll be the
Yes,
first
yes,
comment done. But there's more of a likelihood of it occurring in a game, and if a guy
correct,
does this in a game, it's not like the summer's going to miraculously cure him. He's gone for the year.
correct,
Yeah, all right, that's a good point. I like
correct.
that, Coach. What about your team specifically? Maybe the defense, the offense, the special teams. What specifically stood out to you performance-wise over those 15 days?
Our skill guys. Actually, no. Let me take that back. What really, really stood out to me was our O line.
Okay.
Our O line. We had a couple guys. I think we had 3 or 4 guys that came back, and we had some guys step into that role of taking it. And I thought coming out of spring, I was very, very confident in our O line. That's a great feeling as a head coach coming out, and even as an OC coming out, like, all right, I'm okay at O line. I'm not hurting. I'm not, you know, we're going to get better over the summer. We're going to get better over the course of the year, and that was the big area that I thought that we were very, very consistent at over those 15 days. We got better over those days, and some guys actually came over and from the defensive side to kind of like fill in those spots if something happened. So that right there was big for us.
Coach, one of the things I noticed about your program this year was how outstanding the track team was. I know the track team is always good down there. Do you have any student athletes from your team running track this year?
Yes, sir. We had actually all most of our skill guys. We almost made it mandatory. Well, we kind of made it mandatory for everybody to run, and
Right?
then once the season started to roll, and if the kids that weren't running in the meets,
Yeah.
they would come they would come work out with us. But that we made it mandatory for those guys, because a lot of those guys, a lot of our wide receivers, for instance, they're not 6'2", they're not 6'3". Those are not those guys that are very, very tall. So the first thing that college recruits ask is, what's your times? Do you run track? So we actually had a very, very good, I think, IJ Cordero. He's one of our slot receivers, man, and I think he had a very, very strong off season in the sense of him getting better. He got faster on the track. Now he has legit times on the track. So now his recruiting is going to blow up because now he has the times to show that he can run. So
That's a
those are the things that we try to let these kids know. Like sometimes it's your size, you might be a little bit smaller, but those smaller kids in skill positions, they need to have times.
That's a great point. Here with head coach Mykel Benson of the Heritage Panthers. And coach, as you enter year 2 now as a head coach, what what did you learn from year 1 bringing in to year 2?
Um, what did I learn? Actually, what I learned is that I got to make my schedule harder,
Yeah,
and I think everybody understands what I mean by that. And I didn't have really a say so last year on our schedule. Everything was kind of
right.
locked in when I got it, but it kind of showed at towards the end. When we got to the playoffs that first year, that first round, that was I felt like that was a game that we should have won. And
Right.
then I think if we would have went through a little bit of a gauntlet last year during the regular season, I think we kind of would have pulled out of it. But there's no excuses. We still made some mistakes that we shouldn't have made, but it was a learning experience for me too. And honestly, when I made the schedule this year, I was trying to make it tough, but it's going to be a really, really tough year. But I think we're going to be just fine. To be honest, I'm not going to sugarcoat. I don't want people to think that he's talking down on the schedule, but
No,
our
no.
schedule, if you really, really look at our schedule, we're going through it the whole year. You know what I'm saying?
Pa-
And
Palm
but I
Bay,
think
Seminole,
yeah,
O'Galley, Cocoa, Vero Beach, South Fork, Westwood, Mainland, Martin. You got two state champs on there, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Listen. Let me look before I open my mouth because I know if I say anything, I know that the comments are going to come flying in. So Mainland, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, you're the only one playing two state champs. There, I can say it. No, I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
I love Schneider. I mean, they got a tough schedule. I'm not trying to send any digs, but no, you
no,
are.
no. I
You're
think,
playing
I
two
think they
state
play.
champs.
Yeah, I think they play. They would play one state champ and then one runner up for the state champ, I
Yeah.
believe, and then got IMG on there. So their
Yep.
schedule is always going to be tough.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
the one thing I did learn about making the schedule after you have a good year, nobody wants to play you. And
No.
that was another reason why our schedule was so tough because it's like that for everywhere. Everybody, all the tough teams don't have nobody, which it should be. But I really feel like some of those in county games should have to be played.
Yep.
And just on the other
I
side talking.
I kind of think from a social media standpoint, looking at your schedule from next year. When I say a social media standpoint, I just mean all the banter that goes back and forth. Your particular game, your particular kickoff classic should have a lot of interest. I think.
It will. It will. It
Yeah.
will. It should.
You're.
That's week one for us. That's how we were approaching it. We'll be
Yep.
just fine with it.
And and
So
and again, I'm happy to announce that Brevard Sports Network will be there for all of them again this year. I couldn't. I'm so thrilled. I think the only one we can't do is at Martin County late in the year, but everything else we got them all. So we'll be doing 10 games this year, and it looks like you got a lot of great games at home too, Coach. So we're very excited about that as well, Coach. You said the word sugarcoating earlier. Well, you can't sugarcoat the amount of seniors you lost last year. So I guess my question for you, Coach, is what are some of the position battles we're going to need to keep an eye on throughout the summer and into fall camp?
definitely in the DB area and the quarterback area. I think that's the biggest thing. I think everybody knows what's going on there.
Right.
Um, there's going to be a battle there. Actually, that was another position that I thought it was very, very. I seen a lot of growth from. Um, we had a kid, Michael Rogers, that came up last year. We actually moved him up last year to help us out towards the end of the season. He actually had a very, very strong spring. We put in a package for him where he can excel. He showed a lot of growth from day one to day 15, and as our coaching meeting when we exited, we looked at each other and said that we can play. If we had to play with them right now, we would, and we will. I mean, there's going to be a pattern. It's going to be a battle there, no matter what. You know what I mean? Everybody know what's going on with the quarterback
What
situation that's out there.
what's the young man's name again? I apologize. It just transferred from Vero Beach.
Jackson Summerall, I
So
believe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's going to be fun, and I love the fact that you just said it's going to be a competition.
Absolutely.
I mean, I absolutely love that. What's the strongest part of this roster right now going into the summer and the fall?
Um, my DB core and my wide receiver core.
Gotcha.
I mean, and I can say my DB core, wide receiver core, and my O line because I just gave them so much. But just from a skill set wise, those guys. But I think, like I said, my O line, they were very very consistent. So, and it's hard to find a consistent O line, at the high school level. So, if you want to put all three of those together, we can. But that's I don't know if you were looking for more than one.
No, that's good. No, that's good. That's what I want to hear, and I don't know that's what other teams want to hear, but yeah, that's what I want to hear. Coach, what's
We're,
the? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
No,
no, no.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
saying we're young, but we're very good young. And there's no secret to that because we lost 26
Yeah.
seniors, but our class of 2026 um, class is very very talented, and then we got I think we got four or five seniors right now. They're all returning players as well. So those guys are going to be a big help for us going into the season.
Now, obviously, without giving away any weaknesses heading into fall camp, what's what's the one thing from last year to this year that you and your coaches have pledged that this team will be better at?
Ooh, from last year to this year.
Yeah,
Ooh.
what's the one thing? Yeah, I don't know what your penalty total was, or I don't know what your turn. I mean, I don't. Those numbers are up there on the screen. We're showing them. But if there were an area you wanted this program and team to improve in, where would it be?
I think it got to go. It goes with our schedule, to be honest. And then it just is. We were kind of rolling through our schedule last year, so it was like when we did our breakdown as a coach, we looked at we were doing like the simplest things. You know what I mean to
Right,
do what we were doing because we were so talented. So as us, that Oviedo game we got coached. We not saying we don't coach every week, but
right.
we had to put a little bit more effort into it because that was one of those games. So as a staff, we're going to be more. I think we're going to be prepared every game to go into a dogfight every week. You know what I mean? I think that as a staff, that's what I'm looking for because, um, like I said, last year we rolled through our schedule and there was no if and we put how many shutouts we had. I mean,
Yeah,
we set a
set
school
tied the
record.
school record. Yeah,
So it was one of those things where we I don't want to say we got too comfortable, but we got comfortable. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I don't want to get comfortable like that. And now when we get into those hard games, we don't know how to react or respond. Even as coaches, sometimes we get to that point. It's like, oh man, we're in a dogfight now. We gotta kick it on. I want to be able to do that no matter what. Um, through our schedule. And then as far as player wise, just understanding the situation and understanding. Just situational play. I think that's big for us, understanding why we do what we do. And I think that's a big thing.
Coach, I think, watching you as an assistant for years and all the coaching you've done and now as a head coach, I love watching you coach the kids because I can see when you're talking to a kid or when you're upset with a kid or when you're happy with a kid. I can see the different levels of the game. I mean, you've done this at every level from the youth, the high school, the collegiate, the professional level. I mean, you've done it at every level. You've seen everything. How much of an advantage is that for you? And how has it made your transition into a head coach either better or easier?
I think it's a huge. I take everything I've learned over the years of playing, coaching at every level, and I incorporated it to what we're doing right now. Like the biggest thing, like I've been on those losing teams. I've been on those 0 and whatever teams. I've been on the 1-3 teams as a player, as a coach. I've been on those, so I understand what needs to change when that happens, or I don't want it to let it happen because I know what it's going to make what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So like,
Yep.
um, I've been on championship teams where I understand why that program was a championship program all the time because it's the way they run their program. So it starts from the top down to the bottom. And then, I got a great administration at Heritage right now that is fully behind us. I got great coaches, and I think that is a big thing. And understanding, letting these kids understand what we're about as Heritage. As far as when I say that is, um, we're going to be fun. We're going to have fun. We're going to have that level of fun. And it's funny because I just had it was a Facebook post about this about the relationship with kids, and they know the line that I draw with me being, close to them.
Right.
They know I'm serious. I'm not about just being out there and looking sloppy. One of the college coaches that were at our scrimmage, he texted me after and he told me, he was like, I said, I don't, he was like, I don't say this often. He was like, but that was the most organized scrimmage I ever seen at a high school level, all the years I've been recruiting. And I told him, I was like, we really pride that stuff over here, like looking good, being on time. Those are the things that I got from playing and being on championship teams because you got those teams that go one and whatever. You got kids, you got guys, you got pro guys coming
Yep.
late, not doing what they need to do, not going to the weight room, not doing what they need to do in the classroom. So those are the things that kind of ball up to, championship teams. So and then it takes time. It really does. It takes time. So and I think people got to players and parents have to be patient with the process, and it could go up, it could go down, and but my goal is to keep it going up where where we're still playing at a high level, which we will, just because I believe in our coaches, and then I believe in the players that we got right now.
Coach, it is always my wish is like if I could wish for, in this business, covering some of the professional teams that I've covered in my career, I always want like parents and maybe youth football coaches to spend a couple of weeks with a professional organization, like be a fly on the wall if they could,
Yeah,
to see
absolutely.
how a guy that comes into a meeting late or how a bad attitude in a locker room truly affects even the guys that make the millions of dollars, how pissed off they get and how it affects a professional team. I don't think people understand when it's beat into kids and obviously I mean that, figuratively, but when it's beat into student athletes at the high school level and the youth level, a lot of parents or whomever will say, you're being hard on my kid. But that's not the case. I mean, that's really reality, isn't it?
It's reality in just in the workforce alone. Like
Right.
we have a thing where when we start a workout and then we get anybody that doesn't have a legit excuse, um, I'm either sending that kid home, and that's counting as a missed practice for him, or we're starting our whole drill and whole workout over, and then that that is worse than sending the kid home because now
Yes.
it affects everybody on the team. Like, man, we just warmed up, we just did this, and now I got to do all over again. Yes, does it take time out of our coaching time sometimes? Yeah, but at the end of the day, these kids know not to come late to my stuff. You know what I mean? And
Right.
they respect the time, being on time. They respect that. So you got a legit excuse, then we're okay with it. But you're just kind of rolling up and like, I overslept. No, you're
Yeah.
better off just go ahead and not come.
The,
You
the,
know, so
the coaches that tolerate it, they don't last long. Well,
no,
coach, no, they don't. Well, as we get set to wrap up here, coach, and I always love talking to you. As we get set to go into the 2024 fall season here with summer coming up, I guess you guys are going to be doing some 7-on-7 tournaments. What's the plan for the summer for Heritage?
I do plan on at least doing one this year. We didn't really do it. We didn't do none last year. We didn't throw against no schools, but I don't think any schools around here want to throw like that. Um, So we're going to try to at least hit one. But we go to team camp. So
Right.
team camp is different for us where people don't understand like that's part of my program and then I inherited from Coach Ainsley because he does it every year. So we go to Weber every single year. And that's where it is a mandatory thing for the kids that are going to be playing varsity that we think that's going to be playing varsity. We take a couple of young kids on there just to see if they can play it. Um, but that is a mandatory thing. So like we have all June to lift, and then we get the first week of July off. We get the kids off first week of July, and then when we come back, now the state is making any team that is going to team camp, they got to go through an acclimation phase. So basically, we're back in pads right after that. You know what I mean? So we have to go through an
Wow.
acclimation phase, and then we go to camp. So camp is 3 days, and we get over almost 600 snaps at camp,
Wow.
and
That's great.
and that's 7-on-7 for me because at the end of the day we can do 7-on-7 all day long, but if my O line can't protect our 7-on-7, it doesn't mean nothing. You know what I mean? So it
Right.
does help with the timing, the understanding of that, but I can do that on air. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I can do that on 7-on-7 with my guys and run it. And I know it helps with exposure sometimes, and that's what I'm trying to tell myself. Like, all right, I can get over there and let these guys get watched for a little bit. But at the end of the day, I get all the film from team camp.
Yeah.
So we get to watch film at team camp. It's a good team bonding thing where they're staying in dorms. So I don't know. Like we might hit one. If not, we really don't stress. We don't really stress it like that because team camp is our thing.
I hear you, and that's another reason why I enjoy watching your program is just because, I'm not a big, and I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of 7-on-7. I love the fact that they have the opportunity to do it in the spring, before spring ball starts, and what 7-on-7 Elite does. And,
Hmm.
I think that's fantastic. And I think it gives them a phenomenal outlet and the ability to travel and do some
Exactly.
great things. But high school football, you're right. 7-on-7 is not going to tell you how much time your quarterback's got to release the football, without an offensive line. Coach, one thing you want everybody to know about what you believe the 2024 Heritage Panthers will be.
Let me see how I can really say this. It's not what you think it is. Everybody thinks because we've been so quiet, oh, they don't look good. That's why they're not putting out anything. It's not that.
I
It,
got
it,
you.
it's the exact what we put on the field last year, and probably even better. It's going to be a good showing, and it's going to be a great year. And
And,
I'm really really excited for this year, to be honest, because we got some guys that can play, man, and I think people don't understand that. We develop kids over here, and we want kids to understand the game, and it makes them play faster, and it makes them play better, and then when they're ready to go to the next level, they're already doing it. Like you can ask any kid that's any college coach that came in and talked with our kids and talked scheme wise, they're blown away
I
because
love
they
it.
can sit here and tell you why we do this and what's the beaters, they can sit there and do that. So, some kids are more gifted than others, but when they're not as gifted, they got to understand. They got to understand ball.
Yeah.
That's how you make average players play good, and those great players play great because now they know the game and they because their ability.
We complained about it last year, and Coach Benson delivered. They start with the 16th against Rockledge, the 23rd against Palm Bay. That's August 30th at Seminole, 9-6 home against O'Galley, 9-13 at Cocoa, 9-20 home to Vero Beach, 9-27 home to South Fork, October 11th home to Westwood, October 18th home to Mainland, October 25th at Martin County, 11-1 at MCC. We wanted a tougher schedule. There it is. Coach, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to day, and we'll see you around this summer and most certainly in the fall.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. For head coach Mykel Benson, I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski for the Brevard Sports Network.